Hi, this is Stan. Welcome to the Crow's Nest Railroad. Well, the action's heating up over here at Bob's shop. We've got to get this beautiful engine on the ground off the trailer. It's a beast, and so we got some help coming in, lots of excitement. Stay with us. All right, well, let's go check it out and see what the plan is. All right, well, there's no boiler or cab on this locomotive right now. It's just the actual engine, the chassis, and all that good monkey business. We've got to get this thing on the ground because it needs some machining and some work, and Bob's going to be coordinating that here in his shop. So that's the plan. They had some equipment to get it lifted on the trailer, but we're going to do a manual lift to get it back down on the driveway and blocked up so that we can get some work done on it. So, well, we got a truck that's here, so let's get busy. All right, try not to spill my coffee.
They get straight. A little more. That's what you want. Yep. Yep. What you want?
Right here.
Yeah, or you can put two straps
put
on
that
it.
strap around here on that something.
Yep. Or you can do this, put a strap around it. We just slack the strap a little bit. Then we can push it ahead some.
They go down.
Down is off. Then I'm off. You're off. Okay.
Right.
Come on out a little bit. How's it feel?
Not bad. Go.
Can we pull
Yeah.
those short? Hold it, hold it.
We have brakes.
We got brakes. Come on down, fellas. It's gonna stop here in a minute. Okay, hold it right there. Can you do that? Yep. Yeah, we might have too much.
It's up to you guys driving the locomotive.
Yeah. She's slacking, huh? Here we go. On the skid. There we go, boys. Right on down. Yeah. Come on, Lisa. Come on. There you go. I'm good on my engine. How about you, Bob? How's your wheel?
I'm good.
Good. Good, boys. Come on down.
Good.
There we go. She ain't gonna go uphill.
Block it. We want it.
Pull it over there, Bob.
I'm gonna. Well, we can.
That's all right, Bob. There you go.
Alrighty, Bob. Well, your neighbors are going to love this sitting in the yard, just like they loved the trolley that was here.
Well, Stan, the good news is my neighbor across the street from me is a train buff, so he's thrilled about having trains out in front of my yard, and not his at least.
That's nice. Well, the plan is now, the reason this is here, this is part of that Hammer locomotive. I'll throw up a picture of the full locomotive, which was never really completed operationally. It's very beautiful, and we have all the pieces up at the Saguaro Central. But we've got the chassis here, and I'm thinking, Bob, a lot of people never get a chance to see an engine like this without the boiler and the cab and everything. So let's just talk for a second about the functionality. These main rods are the rods that apply power to these drivers, these big wheels.
Now, these are called side rods. This is known as the main rod, and it's connected directly, ultimately, to the piston through the set of guides, which keep the rod straight and true as the piston runs back and forth. You don't want the rod to be twisted or bending, so all this paraphernalia in here is simply to keep the rod that comes out of this boiler, this piston I'm saying, in a true perpendicular position to the travel of the piston. Then that comes back from the main rod, comes into the side rod. Now this is interesting because he has done an excellent job of building these to be prototypically accurate. The real railroads had wedges that ensured that the bearing that was in this position would not wear and be sloppy and loose over time. So periodically what would happen is you would loosen up the locking bolts and you would drive these wedges down with a mallet. And as that wedge got driven down, it pushed the bearing tighter to the center of the pin, and then it would be, you lock the nuts, and then it would be smooth, contacting the bearing without any back and forth slop, because as you can appreciate, a pin and a bearing will wear over time. So you don't want back and forth slop in your valve gear or your main rods, so this took it out of the main rods. The valve gear had similar means of take-up, so we have a smooth and tight running mechanism front to back. Now in this case we have main bearings here which do not necessarily have the same form of take-up. They have, in fact, the bearing that holds this axle has a set of wedges that are screwed up from below, so you actually can adjust the box of the bearing that's holding the bearing and move that slightly forward and aft as it wears in the frames of the pedestal jaws of the frame. So we're saying that we have the ability over here to take this wedge that you do not see because it's hidden, and there's two wedges on each side, and you can shift this box left or right slightly by depending on where you position the wedges. So that's what took the wear out of the bearings for the axles. Then you had wedges to take the bearing wear on the side rods and main rods, and that is how you managed to keep the whole locomotive tight without clanking and clattering as it went down the track.
All right, and here's the lubricating component for the main bearing on the axle. These look like brake cylinders here. You can see how the shoes are crunching back again.
Because as that brake cylinder sucks upward, it turns out that it picks up a curved arm here, and as that arm rolls on this wedge-shaped device, it pushes outward, and that applies the brake shoes to the wheel itself. So that keeps the brakes applied, and then releasing it, it drops down from gravity and the brakes release.
And of course the massive leaf springs on the back. And this mechanism here is going to control the timing, which eventually gets sent into the valves, these eccentrics here. And this lever here will be that reversing lever, right? So
this is indeed what ultimately ends up reversing it. Now this does not have all the levers that it belongs. This is known as a Stevenson valve gear. The Stevenson valve gear is an inside frame gear rather than a Walschaerts gear, which is an outside frame gear. Forward and reverse, we have right side eccentrics, forward and reverse. They work through a die block, which is here. This moves up and down when this lever is operated. So there's a missing hanger, as it's called, between this pin position and this pin position here. So when this goes up, this goes up. When this lever goes down, that goes down. So it does this motion in the course of going forward and reverse. In doing so, that changes the movement of the arm that's connected all the way through here on each side to the valve stem. So this valve stem, this rod moves forward and backwards every time the locomotive wheels rotate. And that is controlled through this block, which positions itself based on where you want to go forward or backwards. So it's a complex system. It takes a little bit of time to set up and get timed, and that will be ultimately the last thing we'll be doing here. Once it's all painted and lubricated and it looks beautiful, then we'll put some compressed air on it, start rotating the wheels, looking at the valve gear, the valve block. It's a D-slide valve in the cylinders, and we'll be setting that based on the port positions that can now be visible because we can take the covers off.
Yeah.
So that's how you set it, is by looking at the ports in the valve chest as you're rotating the wheels, and you're adjusting all this linkage to make sure that the timing of those ports occurs at exactly the right moment based on the wheel rotation position.
So what the plan here is, Bob, you're going to do the engineering and a lot of the work to not only kind of restore some of the beauty of this, but to fill in the missing pieces, because this locomotive never ran under steam.
No, it didn't. And in fact, unfortunately, because Mr. Hammer died before the whole thing was completed, it's lacking certain elements such as a lubricator.
All right, well, big thanks to Bob. It's going to be exciting to see how this engine gets developed and completed. I'm going to take you along for the ride for each exciting part of this, and then one day we hope this will all be put back together as an operating steam locomotive at Saguaro Central. Bob's shop is down here with his milling and lathe equipment, and so it's just easier to do this work here than up at the railroad park. So thanks so much for watching this week. Stay tuned.
Thank you.